Hey everybody. All right, we're going to continue. We're going to get right into it. Continue where we left off. So this is still game session 1 part, but this is part 3. All right. So we last left off. We're at the canal, and the pack is talking about going into the spirit to investigate. So Victor keeps his eyes on the water, on the reflection, on the thing wearing his dead uncle's face. Without taking his eyes off of it, he speaks to the pack. All right, and let me just put that up on the screen real quick. There we go. He speaks to the pack. We're looking in the wrong place. Hector glances at him. Meaning? Victor points toward the canal. Everything we've found has a connection to the shadow. The spirits know about it. The locus is being drained. Something below the river is frightening them. If we want answers, we need to look from the shadow. The pack falls silent. Father Tomas is the first to respond. That makes sense. Maria nods. If it's hiding from the flesh, we'll see more over there. Elena looks toward the water. Assuming it wants to be seen. Hector thinks for a few moments, then nods. It's agreed. The Alpha turns toward the canal. We cross together. That last part is important. Victor's suggestion is not I go. It is the pack goes, which is much more consistent with Victor's behavior so far. All right, so this is a point where we are going to roll to so what we're actually rolling for right here is one second. Okay. So Victor the Bone Shadow, my character, is going to roll to basically check the gauntlet, to assess the gauntlet where they currently are. All right, so that is going to be sorry guys. Oh my gosh, how did I miss this? How did I miss the dice? Okay, it's going to be 8 dice, wits plus occult. So Victor rolls, and it is successful. So Victor closes his eyes for a moment. He lets the conversation fade. The canal, the figure, the reflection, the pack, all of it becomes background noise. Instead, he focuses on the boundary, that line between flesh and shadow, the thing every Ithier learns to feel. And immediately he notices something wrong. Not weak, not strong, wrong. The gauntlet here isn't behaving naturally. Crossing here is easier than it should be, much easier. Not as easy as a powerful locust, but easier than ordinary wilderness. The thinning is not natural. The canal itself is affecting the boundary, not the surrounding land, not the weather, the water. So Victor doesn't sense a source upstream or downstream. He senses a source beneath. So, so my character Victor would basically remember the words from one of the spirits that it came from below the river. Um, the locust here, the locust wasn't merely damaged. Something is drawing spiritual energy from it. The canal is part of that process. So Victor is confident the pack can attempt a crossing at this location. All right. Okay, so Victor explains his findings to the pack. Hector listens carefully, then nods. Good. Maria looks uneasy. Father Tomas says, or you know what? I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip some of this, guys, because I just feel like it's kind of pointless. They're just like, basically, the pack is not really saying a whole lot. They're just Victor is basically telling them we can cross here, and the pack's just making small talk, like really just like very short little responses. Um, so the figure by the canal from the last video, it's and also in this picture that you guys can see, it's still standing there silent, and the reflection is just there and being silent. Nothing's really happening, and so at this point, um, at this point, I like I said in the previous videos, I have a system in place so that I don't so that my character and or basically myself, so that I don't know what's always going to happen. And so I used my system at this point because remember, these videos are recaps of when I was actually playing. However, this video that I'm doing with you guys today, I might actually um, be playing my game like as I'm describing it. So, but we're not at that point yet. All right, so after I used my system, it basically what happened was Victor wants the pack to enter the shadow together. So basically, Victor was given some options, and thank goodness Victor wants to go into the shadow with the entire pack, because one of the worst things you can do in Werewolf the Forsaken is split up. Okay, um, I mean, obviously it depends on your dungeon master, but if you do research um, on this game, if a werewolf is by itself, it's very vulnerable. So, anyways, Victor explains to the pack that we need to go into the shadow together. Hector approves of this as the alpha, and so Hector is like, "Together, let's go." Nobody argues. That alone tells Victor how seriously the pack is taking this. Maria takes position on Hector's left, Elena on his right. Father Tomas remains slightly behind. Victor stands with them. 5 newly changed Uratha standing beside a canal where water flows uphill, preparing to cross into the shadow. All right, so we're gonna roll for Victor to cross. We're gonna roll Resolve plus Composure, 6 dice. As Victor reaches toward the gauntlet, he immediately notices something unsettling. The boundary is already moving. Not resisting him, not opening, moving. Like something on the other side is reaching toward them at the exact same moment. All right. All right, Victor's successful. Victor gets through, but something isn't right. Victor reaches for the boundary. The world blurs. The sensation is familiar. He has crossed once already tonight, but this time the gauntlet does not feel passive. The boundary presses back. Not hard enough to stop him, hard enough that Victor immediately notices it. Then the world tears open. Victor steps into the shadow. The first thing Victor notices is the smell. Not water, not spirits, names. The sensation is impossible to describe, yet Victor knows exactly what he's experiencing. In the same way, a spirit of fire smells like burning things. In the same way, a spirit of fear smells like terror. Something here smells like forgotten identities, lost memories, abandoned names, and the canal. The canal is gone, or rather, the canal was never a canal here. In the shadow, it is a localized but highly unnatural wound. Okay, so let me describe what they're seeing, and I'm also going to show you guys a picture. So there is a canal in the shadow, okay, and there's something called a wound. This is basically what they're seeing. So they see this. Yikes, right? All right, yeah, look at that. Ouch. So this is a real thing in Werewolf the Forsaken. It's a wound, and I'll let the game describe it. So, in the shadow, it is a localized but highly unnatural wound, a crack descending downward into darkness, not flowing north, not flowing south, not flowing uphill, flowing down. Farther than Victor can see, the entire spirit landscape around it appears warped, bent inward, pulled toward the abyss. Then Victor notices movement. 10 to 20 spirits lining the edges of the wound, watching and waiting, silent, not attacking, not fleeing, watching. And every single spirit is staring downward, towards something far below. Victor has crossed successfully. And now Victor had some options. We used my system, and thank goodness Victor decided to wait for the rest of his pack to come through into the shadow. And so Victor waited for his pack. The pack crossed over, and now the entire pack can see what Victor is seeing. So Victor resists the urge to approach this wound. Victor also resists the urge to question the spirits. And obviously, Victor resisted the urge to investigate alone. He remains near the point where he crossed into the shadow, but he can see what I'm showing you guys in the video. And he's just waiting there for his pack. The spirits lining the edge of the wound continue staring downward. Not one of them acknowledges Victor, not even the dragonfly spirits he met earlier. That alone is unsettling. These spirits aren't hiding. They aren't panicking. They aren't fleeing. They're watching, like villagers watching the mouth of a cave they know contains a monster. Then Victor notices something else. No spirit is crossing the wound. None. They cluster around the edges. Some fly, some crawl, some drift. Yet not a single one descends, not even a little. Okay? So, one by one, uh, Maria emerges, then Elena, then Father Tomas, and then the last is Hector. All four successfully cross into the shadow. For several moments, nobody speaks because everybody's looking at the wound. The canal is a canal, but obviously there's this wound in it. Maria whispers, "What the hell?" Father Tomas simply stares. Elena looks visibly uncomfortable, and Hector, for the first time tonight, looks worried. That's not what I expect. So Hector's like, "That's not what I expected." All right, so that. Okay, so Hector looks at Victor because the whole pack is just looking at this thing. So the alpha looks at Victor and he's like, "Well, what do you have in mind? Do we talk to the spirits?" Then he points at the abyss, or do we go down? The decision is Victor's. The decision is Victor's recommendation, and this one is important. Once the pack starts descending, turning back may become much harder. Okay, once again, I had to use my system, and thank goodness this is the result. Victor studies the unnatural wound. Victor looks at the spirits. He studies he's not getting very close to it, but he's just, he can see that he can see that he can't see the bottom of this wound. It's deep. the spiritual pressure rolling upward from below. Then he looks at Hector. Let's get out of here. The Alpha blinks. Maria looks surprised. Father Tomas looks relieved. Victor continues. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to fix it. But I think I know somebody who can help us. Hector, a brief silence follows. Hector thinks about it, and then he says, "You know, that's fine. Yeah, let's get out of here." Um, and so Victor walks past Hector towards the gauntlet where they all crossed to I guess like the gate. And Father, as Victor's walking this way, Father Tomas says, "Are you referring to your mentor?" And Victor's like, "Yeah." So Victor is going to reach out to his Bone Shadow mentor. And you guys can't see Victor's character sheet, but Victor does have the ability to do this, and he does have a mentor. 1 second. I'm just going to take a swig of coffee. 1 second. You guys aren't very familiar with me yet, but you're going to find out that I am a coffee connoisseur. Is that how you say it? Connoisseur? I love coffee. Anyways, okay, so Victor has a mentor from the Bone Shadows tribe. And I think when you're creating your characters, depending on your dungeon master, I think all characters can have a mentor. It's kind of up to the dungeon master. If you're strictly following the rules like I like to do, then you can set aside some points at character creation so that so that you can justify your character having a mentor. Otherwise, if you make depending on your backstory, your character might not have a mentor. So this is going to actually be really helpful. And that was my overall goal when I was creating Victor, is I wanted him to, he didn't have to be the alpha. I didn't really care about that, right? Everybody tends to want to be the alpha, you know, the decision maker, the guy that's in control. But I wanted a character that was kind of like a support. At the same time, could, you know, talk to spirits and do some of that cool stuff. So Victor is making me very happy right now. So Victor and Father, as they're crossing, and we're not going to roll for this, the pack is crossing back through the gauntlet. When they get to the other side, the pack is excited and they're asking Victor questions about his mentor. They're like, "This is the one that taught you about spirits, right?" And Victor's like, "Yeah." And Father Tomas is like, "Didn't your mentor, um, didn't he also, you know, help you understand She Who Stays?" And Victor's like, "Yep, that's the one." And so that is the end of session 1. So at this point, guys, we're don't worry, we're not done. We're not done, guys. We're only, yeah, we're not even 30 minutes into this video. So let me just explain what happens at this point. So at the end of a session, okay, and you need to have a system to determine when you're, like, you need to have a system in place when you're creating Werewolf the Forsaken games, so that you know when you've reached the end of a session. Because here is a very important part. We are playing Werewolf the Forsaken 2nd edition, and this is the point where you can distribute XP. But in Werewolf the Forsaken 2nd edition, XP is called beats. B-E-A-T, beats. And so my character, and this part is part of my system that I have for my character. So I don't just give out my character a bunch of you know, beats, right? Like, this actually, there's a system that I have in place. that determines whether or not my character deserves a beat. So my character actually got 1 beat, and then it takes 5 beats to turn into 1 XP. So right now my character has 5 XP because I decided when I was setting up my chronicle that all the characters were going to start off with 5 XP. So now my character has 5 XP and 1 beat. Okay, and the reason he got 1 beat was because of all the discoveries he made, but also because he demonstrated wisdom, respect for the pack, restraint, and he recognized his limits. And so these are things. So when you're deciding what to award a beat for, you want to look at things that have to deal with your character. So in this situation, wisdom, showing restraint, respect for the pack, and all that stuff, um, those are bone shadow traits. Okay, and then like I said, he also had some major discoveries that he did. So he got 1 beat, and I think that's pretty good. Some players will expect a lot more. They might even say, you know what, no, I need 1 full XP. But if you do that, before long you won't have a game. Trust me, I have run this game for over 1,000 hours in the past, and I had a whole group of people that I would meet up with every week, and they just destroyed my game little by little. So I highly suggest you come up with a system and follow it strictly. But to each their own. All right. So, starting session 2. Session 2. So, you know what, guys? We are actually going to stop the video. And I'm gonna start another video right away, because I do want to I want to start a fresh video for session 2, so that when people are listening to these, they understand, they can find the area where session 2 starts. So if you're listening to this, I'll see you in the next video.